I'm small, I'm little. Most people say you look like you're
So this has been a fascinating conversation about child abuse prevention. I'm wondering, Melissa, what's next?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Miss Winfrey. Let's just keep building together for prevention. You know, this field is so interesting because everything's interacting with everything else, but that's also what makes it really difficult, right?
Exactly.
So tell me how then kids can come to recover or be resilient. How do we make changes once adversity has occurred in those formative years?
Human beings are changeable. You can change, and you can change every part of the brain from the top all the way down to the bottom. The key to changing the lower parts of the brain, though, is something that a lot of people in our mental health world are not paying as much attention to as they should. And this is the power of sport and music and drama and things that are being minimized now in school, unfortunately, that really are the most transformative things that we know for those lower parts of the brain.
Yes, I would say even at our school in South Africa with girls who were coming from such challenged backgrounds, that one of the things we did, because it's just was so culturally appropriate and exciting for girls, was institute a dance program. Girls being regularly exposed to that rhythmic pattern dancing, literally drumming.
They would dance from class to class.
Oh.
I mean, they would literally move from class to class in rhythm, in dance, and it was beautiful to watch.
So it's really important that we not take away those parts, those joyful times in life, right? And especially in childhood. The symbol of Child Abuse Prevention Month is the pinwheel, right? And the pinwheel symbolizes hope and carefreeness and stuff that, frankly, a lot of our kids unfortunately don't always have. I want to go back to something you said, Miss Winfrey, before about people wanting to be seen and heard. You know, there's some powerful descriptions in the book about how that validation is not an example of inferiority or insecurity. It's actually something that we all need.
Well, what I noticed over the years is that after every interview, including my first one with Bruce, with Barack Obama, with Beyonce, at the end of every interview, in some form or another, everybody said the same thing. Was that okay? What I gleaned from that is that the common denominator in that question and the thread of those experiences is, did you hear me and did what I say make sense and did it matter? And I have come to know that that is what every human being that you encounter is looking for. So this sense of knowing that we are all connected and the same in that, no matter where you are on the hierarchy of life, that you want the same thing that everybody else wants, and that is to know that you are heard.
That is so powerful, and we see it in the work that we do with families and home visitation through Healthy Families America. For so many of these families, these young moms or single parent households or others, they may not have the support around them of people who can actually see them and validate them day to day. And now here comes a new baby, a new challenge, the transition, and just these home visitors that can provide that support is so powerful.
It's huge.
That's why what you're talking about, you know, when your social workers or people go into the homes, being able to validate somebody's experience first is the most important thing. I think that there is no greater gift that you can give to another human being than to give them your presence, your 100% self. And what I have learned in my own studies of just watching people in their relationships is that's what kids want. Kids want you.
And this is again why I think that the programs that you guys have, home visiting programs, for example, they're like a lifeline.
Yeah.
You know, they give a little moment to this parent who can then give in turn moments to their children.
It's why we can't just have programs either. We have to have policies, we have to have norms change. We have to have a culture that actually supports parents to bring their best selves to this job of parenting.
That is the best offering we can give as a society, I think. It's to support the supporters.
Yes.
And I think any kind of program that doesn't include support for the parents who are in the trenches, overwhelmed, that's the root of what we need to be addressing here.
I'm so excited that everyone can get this book around the country in our airports this Child Abuse Prevention Month in April. Just bringing this message to more people in such an accessible and relatable way is like such a gift for raising awareness and commitment to what is possible when we really put science at the core and really elevate what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you.
I think as an adult, it is a part of your calling in life to understand and recognize what happened to you and how that affects your behavior and your choices today. How it has created the pattern that is your life up until now. And if you want to change that pattern, how you can begin to do that by reading or listening to some of these chapters, because it is possible to change. I think it's a part of what being human means, is to understand the depths of your humanness and what brings about the greatest humanity for you.
Well, this is a super powerful conversation. This book is a tremendous resource for every single person. Get the book, get the audiobook. We are so excited to have had this opportunity to talk about the themes of this book, trauma, resilience, and healing during Child Abuse Prevention Month, which is April. So there's really a role for everyone. Learn more about this topic and what's possible when we come together for prevention. Childhood lasts a lifetime. We know from decades of research that experiences that happen in childhood stay with us across the lifespan. And we really want to make sure that those early relationships are setting our kids up for success in the next generation. And as an organization that's really rooted in this science, for the past 50 years, Prevent Child Abuse America has worked to ensure that those healthiest starts for children are ensured for all children across the globe, across the country. I'm Dr. Melissa Merrick, President and CEO of Prevent Child Abuse America, and I would like to say I am so excited to be with you during Child Abuse Prevention Month, April, to really celebrate what's possible when we all come together to make sure that kids have what they need, that families have what they need, where they live before they're in crisis, without stigma, to ensure lifelong health and well-being. And I'm here with two tremendous partners in this work. First of all, Dr. Bruce Perry is the co-vice chair of our National Board of Directors here at Prevent Child Abuse America, and actually was the reason that I took this job. Really, he has been just a tremendous leader for the past 30 years, a clinician, a researcher, focusing on children's mental health and also the neurosciences. And then, of course, he's written this tremendous book with Miss Oprah Winfrey, who really needs no introduction.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this.
A global icon, someone who has always used her voice and her power to elevate the most important humanitarian issues of our day, particularly as they relate to children and their health and prosperity. I am just so excited to have this conversation with you all. So without further ado, I want to talk about this tremendous book.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's talk.
First of all, the title alone, What Happened to You? It's such a tremendous shift from what's wrong with you to what happened to you.
Oprah should talk a little bit about the title, because it was really an epiphany moment, I think, for her, that really culminated after years of having conversations with me and other people about the power of experience in shaping who we become, right? I'm a developmental neurobiologist and a child psychiatrist, and I've been studying for years and years and years how people grow up, how we develop, and focusing on the brain. So I always had this perspective about understanding a person in the present depends upon what happened to them in the past. Now, over the years, we've had many, many conversations about this in one way or another.
We have.
It was hard to get it across, but I think when you heard that phrase, what happened to you rather than what's wrong with you, it sort of crystallized a lot of your learning.
Well, yes, it was an aha light bulb moment for me. It just landed with me in a way that I was able to really receive it. I mean, just literally all the little bells went off in my head when you went, oh, we shouldn't be asking the question of what's wrong with these kids. You're holding them after school and you're, suspending them from school. So obviously I'm not a developmental neurobiologist.
We're not that fancy.
I feel like my ability to see people from the point of view of what happened to you, particularly when people are acting out and in crisis or doing things or showing behaviors that I feel like, wow, that's crazy. Instead of me immediately going to, that's crazy, I go, I wonder what happened to them.
I think that this reframe, what happened to you instead of what's wrong with you, is also something that we need to apply to our parents, right? And we have to change cycles. And when we learn better and we can receive that information in a more regulated state, we can actually change impacts. And I think a helpful tool in the book is about the 3 R's. Dr. Perry, tell us a little bit about that.
So there's a couple of really important things in there that I want to talk about. One is that in almost every interview you've done, there's sort of a historical narrative of the person. You want to know their story.
Yes.
And when people tell you their story, they're basically kind of giving you the history of their experiences over time. And a lot of times they're giving you some contextual history of their people, right? Of their family and their country and their culture. And what you're bringing out when you talk to people about that is the malleability of the human brain. And the other part that you brought up that is about this regulate, relate, reason thing. Because of the way the brain is organized, you think about it kind of as having a bottom and then a middle and then a top. And so what happens is, as we experience the present, that first goes to the lowest part of your brain. And if that part of the brain is dysregulated, if it's overactive and overly reactive, it starts to short circuit communication in the middle part of your brain and the top part of your brain. And so you can't get to the smart part of your brain if you don't first calm down the lower part of your brain.
What everybody wants is to be heard. Everybody is looking to be validated. And you can't get to the validation part. You can't be heard. That other person can't even hear you if that is dysregulated. When you're saying you're not hearing me, they really aren't hearing you because they can't.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's, it's easy to say. Sometimes it's really hard to do,
I certainly experienced this during all those years of talking to families about their lives and dysfunction going on in their lives. And oftentimes parents would say, I did the same thing for this child as I did for that child, and it didn't work. Well, the truth is every child is different, every human being is different, and the same thing isn't supposed to work.